Cabinet following the summer recess. Obviously, it's been an incredibly busy summer break for all of us, and I think I'd like to start with a couple of reflections in terms of some of the sad news that we have had over the summer. Obviously, we're all aware of the death of Her late Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, but also one of our own members, Councillor Judy Smith, who also sadly passed away. So what I intend to do is we'll do a minute's silence for each of them in terms of Her Majesty the Queen first, and then Councillor Judy Smith. And there will be an opportunity this afternoon at full council, and nice to see the chairman here, for us to make comments for both individuals at our full council meeting. So we'll just hold a minute's silence in memory of them today. And then obviously we'll formally do that at the full council day. So if you could all please stand for the minute's silence, please. Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, well, cracking on with the agenda, obviously we'll start with the register of attendance, and apologies for absence, please. So James, we'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I was going to give the apologies for absence. We've got apologies from Councillor Adam Stokes, and we've also got apologies for Councillor Robert Reid. Do you also want to register who's here, a roll call?
Yes, you can do. Yes, you can do. I think we normally do.
Thank you, Chairman. So I've got Councillor Callum Cook, Councillor Annie Mason, Councillor Nick Robbins, Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew, Councillor Mark Whittington, and Councillor Linda Wootton. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 2, which is the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 12th of July 2022. They are on pages 3 to 17. So what we'll do is we'll go through them page by page, and then we'll approve them at the end. So page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So I've got no amendments or comments to those minutes. Could I have a proposer, please, from the floor? Councillor Whittington, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wootton. All those in favour, please do indicate in the usual way. Thank you very much. And any abstentions? Lovely. Thank you very much. Therefore, agenda item number 3, which is disclosure of interest. Obviously, if you do have anything to disclose at any point in this meeting, please do not hesitate to do that. Otherwise, your standing declarations are already on our website. So moving on to items for the Cabinet decision, which are key, and we're starting with the corporate asset management strategy from pages 19 to 39. Unfortunately, as we all know, Councillor Reid is away for today's meeting, so I will take over for this item. So in terms of the council's corporate plan, this confirms our priority of ensuring that we are a high-performing council, and we know well-managed corporate assets create an environment for all of our council services to deliver for the residents of South Kesteven. The corporate plan called for the adoption of an overarching asset management strategy to ensure that we make our assets work, and I welcome the strategy that is presented to Cabinet today. I'm sure members could join me in listing some recent achievements made in relation to our corporate assets, most obviously the decision to relocate our corporate headquarters into the vacant space at St Catherine's Road, and the disposal of the existing St Peter's Hill office. This decision was made on a clear evidence base, both financial and cultural, and with the drivers of making our assets work best for us and our taxpayers. Of course, the strategy formalises and makes clear the future actions the council intends to take, and I think gives clear evidence of our improvement journey and ambitions for the future. And I would like to thank all the officers that have been a part of making this happen. I think it's absolutely right that we manage our portfolio as any other business would. I think we need to view our property portfolio in a business context. So I'm very pleased that we've now got that strategy. Hopefully we'll all adopt the strategy today in terms of what we need to do. Do you have any comments or clarifications that anybody would like to make on this strategy? No. Therefore, I'm very happy to propose recommendations 1 and 2 on page 19. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Trollope-Bellew, thank you very much. And all those in favour, please do indicate. And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 5, which is the asset transfer to Stamford Town Council. And this is on pages 41 to 53. So for a bit of context, obviously, we've recently, following the decision to transfer Empingham Road and Uffington Road playing fields from April 2023, we've continued to have a positive dialogue with Stamford Town Council in order to consider further transfers of specific assets that are of direct benefit to the residents of Stamford. These positive discussions have led to the identification of 2 further assets for transfer, the public conveniences and upper floors at the Red Lion Square building in Stamford, and also the land at West Street in Stamford. It is proposed to dispose of these assets at a nominal sum, but the ongoing financial responsibility will transfer to the Town Council following the sale. The use of these assets will also be legally protected to ensure they continue to operate on an existing use basis, although the operating model of public conveniences especially will be determined by the Town Council. And I was present for that Town Council meeting, and it was a unanimous decision. It was a unanimous decision at that Town Council meeting to take on these assets. I know that the Town Council are very keen to do this, and I think for some of you that probably were aware of the history in terms of pre-1974 and the local government reform, these assets were part of Stamford Borough Council. So in reality, this is almost our devolution at a district level of actually returning assets to the towns. And obviously the Town Council have much more ability to precept for the maintenance and ongoing repair, and should they wish to look to use the space for other means, particularly the space above the public conveniences as well. So it is a very positive thing. This has been led primarily by an ongoing conversation we've had with the Town Council, and the Town Council would very much like to well, especially take over the loos and also the land on West Street. So the recommendations are on page 41, and there's obviously 1 and 2. Do we have any comments or points that anybody would like to raise on this transfer? No? Councillor Whittington.
Oh, it's nothing, actually. I just wanted to say this as a good example, obviously, of a win-win. Obviously, Stamford Town Council well able to sort of take over and manage the facility themselves, and also it's a benefit for us because it will save us £30,000 revenue savings each year. So most definitely a win-win. Obviously, beneficial all round. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you. I think, in terms of it's just making best use of our assets, and actually, these assets are community facilities, and why not ensure that they are put to best use by the local community in that area. So recommendations are obviously set out on page 41. I'm very happy to propose recommendations 1 and 2. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Whittington, thank you. And all those in favour, please do indicate. Oh, thank you very much. That is unanimous. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 6, which is the use of the ESPO liquid fuel framework for the procurement of diesel fuel, which is on pages 55 to 58. Now, this would, I'm handing over to Councillor Whittington.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. at the present moment of time, we procure the diesel fuel for our waste freighters and for our rest of our fleet that use diesel under an ESPO, via ESPO through a liquid fuel framework. We are proposing that we come to the end of the period we initially signed up for. We're proposing that we extend this until the expiration of the framework on the 30th of December 2026. The key information really is in 1.1 on page 56, where we can see that we spend roughly £700,000 a year currently on fuel, but this is actually going to potentially rise by an additional £200,000 in the current year, and that's due, obviously, people are aware that the fuel prices are increasing and diesel prices are increasing, and being part of the framework it enables us to make savings because the framework is procuring diesel bulk. So whilst this is not being part of the framework isn't going to totally mitigate our financial pressures, it will help towards the mitigation of those. So I don't know if Anne-Marie's got anything else to add further to that. No. But obviously both myself and Anne-Marie would be more than happy to answer questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
No, thank you. I think it makes absolute sense to do this. Obviously, you know, the majority of our fleet is diesel. I know we have a couple of electric small vehicles, but I know you and I have had this conversation quite a few times, Councillor Whittington. You know, simply the vehicles that we require to move forwards in terms of electric vehicles, particularly for refuse collection in our district. Sadly, we're not a London borough with 2 square miles. We've got 365 square miles. So I think if we even tried with electric vehicles, they barely get down the A1 before they reach Stamford, let alone the Deepings. So I think for us, this absolutely makes sense. I think we've all seen the fuel prices going in a certain direction, and particularly I'm pleased over the last few weeks, it has continued to drop at I'd say a steady rate, not perhaps at the rate we perhaps all might like when we're filling up our cars. But I think by us doing this and taking advantage of the economies of scale, it is absolutely the right thing to do, especially when it is a volatile market at the present time. So do we have any other comments on agenda item number 6? Therefore, if Councillor Whitting, you're happy to propose that item, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Robbins, thank you very much. Therefore, all those in favour of the recommendation on page 55? Thank you, that is unanimous. Therefore, we move on to agenda item number 7, which is the essential works relating to the new council offices on St Catherine's Road in Grantham. And obviously, as the member champion, I am extremely pleased to see this agenda item come forward following the council's approved budget for the relocation of offices to what was known, I think, as the Picture House. And entering into a contract to complete the works reflects the business need of us as a council compared to the existing layout of the office space at St Peter's Hill. We've all seen the existing office space. You know, it is old-fashioned. It doesn't support collaborative working. It needs an extensive amount of money spending on the old building. And I think this will provide that real culture change and value change. And we were talking about this yesterday at both Employment Committee and the review of the peer review in terms of creating that culture and values of the organisation fit for the future. As a council, we've seen a major change in the style of working in our office spaces, with hot desking arrangements already in place in preparation of moving into the new accommodation. Obviously, COVID has also helped drive that in terms of the work-life balance for a lot of our staff now, doing that flexible working between in the office and also working at home. Obviously, as a council, we've also got several change programmes to drive both performance improvements and savings as an authority. And I think, as we all know, running costs will continue to rise. So we need to constantly be looking at how we best spend taxpayers' money, and reducing the amount of office space by introducing mobile technology and more flexible ways of working is an organisation-wide change programme. And the essential works will enable staff to be brought together in that modern space, providing benefits in terms of both environmental standards, technology, and breaking down that silo working culture that we've had. And it's been really good to get the staff into that office accommodation. So I think it was only a couple of weeks ago now, the chairman hosted a coffee and cake morning, and I know we raised, I think, £300 for charity, and actually just getting staff into that space to see how it works and how it will operate, which is really positive. So obviously this report would have been delivered by Councillor Reid, but obviously he's presently away. Obviously the recommendations are on page 59 and 60 in terms of 1, 2 and 3. And obviously just in relation to the lower floor, obviously the conversations continue to move productively with the county council about creating that public sector hub in the downstairs of that space as well. Do we have any comments or clarifications on this? Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Leader. I'm happy to support the recommendations. We need to get on with this to provide the stability and flexibility for our staff. The new premises, I feel, will provide a breath of fresh air for our staff and uplift them and create a positive working environment. Support the temporary relocation of the customer services to the Guildhall. There'll be no disruption to services for our residents, and also it's got disabled access, so it is the perfect location. And it's really important that the design is shaped for the needs of our staff by our staff. So I'm pleased to see that consultations have taken place. Thank you.
Councillor Whittington first.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I absolutely welcome this report as well, and the move across. I think, as you alluded to in your comments, you will make a substantial saving in running costs by moving over into the new office block. And obviously, with the increases in fuel prices, it makes sense to move into a building that is going to be a lot more fuel efficient and energy efficient than the one we're also in. And of course, as paragraphs 1.6, 1.7 on page 61 make clear, there are quite a lot of benefits. And as cabinet member for climate change, obviously from a climate change perspective, it's as the comment is, the new building is built to modern standards, more efficient heating and ventilation, and will contribute positively towards our council's climate change and carbon reduction plans. So from that perspective, I absolutely wholeheartedly welcome it, both from a financial and from a climate change perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, in terms of, as Councillor Mason said, in terms of getting on with the work, if we approve this today, obviously we'll start that on the 24th of October and then moving over Christmas. So it's very, it will be moving at a pace as well. There's no more cabinet members to speak, then I'll invite the leader of Alliance SK, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This building, the Picture House building, was originally built through a partnership of the Savoy Cinemas, South Kesteven District Council, of course, and the LEP, who put in something like £2 million for a university college building, which clearly hasn't happened. Are the LEP aware of the new plans for the site, and is there any financial consequence for using it for council offices rather than for a university? Thank you.
So yes, they are aware, and we've had conversations ongoing with them since. And obviously, it is a sad place in a way, because obviously I think we'd have all liked the university centre to have worked, but the working practices of the university have now changed, and they no longer require that space as learning has changed. In terms of the financial implications, we are still in ongoing discussions with the LEP about the level of exposure in terms of that funding that they allocated to us. We have a number of metrics and results in terms of what we have already achieved through using that space, through outreach work with the local college and university. And it's an ongoing discussion. Obviously, it will be reported back to this council at some point, should and what if there is a level of financial contribution we will have to return to the LEP. Councillor Whittington.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might just make a comment on the change working practices of the University of Lincoln. I'm just concluding a part-time master's degree in history at the University of Lincoln. Pre-COVID, I was attending, going up 1 day per week. But in reality, within a very, very few weeks of COVID striking, the university had moved over to teaching remotely. And I've actually been into Lincoln University since now before COVID, and still able to access and have tutorials. And I think it's made the university realise that they can rationalise and improve the way they offer courses and also offer access to courses. I also know of the son of a friend who during COVID managed to do a master's degree at the University of Glasgow without ever once setting foot in Glasgow. So I think lots of universities are sort of realising now, they can adopt the model and also model that was trialled very successfully since the late 60s by the Open University and use modern technology. And in effect, it actually does improve access because you can be anywhere in the country now and access any university. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you for that personal comments. I mean, I do struggle with it in some ways because as much as it does make it more open and accessible, I don't think I'd have had the same experience at university if I hadn't been in Nottingham itself. If I'd been stuck at home in Stamford, I think it would have been a bit different. But yeah, I think it's it's horses for courses on that one. So we've got the recommendations on 59 and 60, 1, 2 and 3. I'm happy to propose, and I think Councillor Mason is happy to second on that one. So if all members are in support, please do indicate. And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. So in terms of agenda item number 8, obviously the replacement of gym equipment at Bourne Leisure Centre, obviously a number of us in this room, including myself, the Chief Executive and Councillor Trott Bellew, will have to depart for, and Nicola McCoy-Brown will have to depart for this item because of our interests in Leisure SK. Alan is going to nominate a chairman for this item before the meeting. I've spoken to Councillor Whittington, but obviously I'll hand over to Alan to follow that process. So we shall depart.
So in the absence of the leader and the deputy leader, obviously we do not have a chairman at the moment for this item. So what is it might be the procedure is that we need to take a nomination from the floor, take a vote on who should chair for this item only. Do I have any nominations to chair? Councillor Mason.
Yes, I'd like to propose Councillor Mark Whittington, please.
So that's proposed by Councillor Annie Mason, seconded by Councillor Nick Robbins. All those in favour of Councillor Whittington taking the chair for this item? Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So over to you, Councillor Whittington. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you indeed. I just feel a bit lonely up here, actually. Right, before you today is an urgent report recommending an amendment to the capital budget for 22-23 in the sum of £137,000 in order to provide a loan to Leisure SK Limited to finance the refurbishment of the gym area, including a full replacement of the gym equipment at Bourne Leisure Centre. At a recent Leisure SK Limited board meeting, the directors considered and approved a detailed business case to replace the equipment at Bourne Leisure Centre, which is old and nearing the end of its useful life. In addition to identifying the capital outlay required, the business case detailed the positive impact for customers and the anticipated financial return. Financial modelling has taken place, which has identified that the most cost-effective borrowing option for the company would be for the council to provide the funds under a loan arrangement. As detailed within the report, this decision is now of an urgent nature. If the order can be placed in the next few weeks, this will ensure that the refurbishment of the gym area can take place during December, which is traditionally a quiet period for the centre and leisure industry in general. The new equipment will then be in place for January, when there is already an anticipated uplift in membership numbers. The investment further demonstrates the council's commitment through its company Leisure SK Limited to our corporate plan priority of providing high quality leisure facilities across the district and underpins our vision of remaining the best district in which to live, work and visit. The recommendations within the report are that the Cabinet 1 approves the addition of £137,000 to the capital budget for 22-23 to provide a loan to Leisure SK Limited to facilitate a refurbishment of the gym area and equipment of Bourne Leisure Centre. And 2, delegates to the Chief Finance Officer to agree the terms and conditions of the loan and sign the loan agreement on behalf of the council. So I trust you've all read the report, so I'm happy to take any comments from any members of the cabinet. Can't see any. In that case, I will pass over to Councillor Ashley Baxter, leader of the Alliance SK Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome the investment of monies into the Bourne Leisure Centre and all our leisure centres, but Bourne particularly because as you are aware, it's now the nearest, probably equidistant with Stamford from the Deepings. Many people in the Deepings have had to find alternative gym arrangements and swimming arrangements. Some have gone into Peterborough to private gyms. Some hopefully have gone to Bourne and to Stamford. So it would be dreadful if the facilities at Bourne were also on the scrap heap along with the facilities at Deeping. I'd welcome any feedback in terms of the other things that need to be done at Bourne. I know we discussed from a recent meeting, and I can't remember whether issues like the roof and the heating system were also addressed. It was before the summer, so I don't recollect. I do recollect that some works needed to be done in the boiler house. Can't remember what they were or whether it was agreed. So and it's not the time, but the Deepings Leisure Centre really would appreciate some progress on that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Baxter. I forgot. Karen, are you able just to give a bit of a feedback to Councillor Baxter on the other work that's needed to be done at Bourne, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to do so. So we've received the results of full condition surveys now on the 3 operational leisure centres, and we've gone through a process of prioritising those works. Really, the priority order has to be health and safety. So those are the works that are being commissioned straight away. But there are some works scheduled for the roof, the fire doors, and also the boiler. I think they're the things that you mentioned.
Thank you very much indeed, Karen. If there's no further comments from the cabinet or anybody, I would like to propose that we accept recommendations 1 and 2 as I previously outlined. I'm happy to propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Linda Wharton. So all those in favour of accepting the recommendation? And that's unanimous. Thank you. And I guess now, Alan, over to you to ask the leader and the chief executive to come back in. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. And thank you, Mark, for taking over at that point. Therefore, we will now move on to items for cabinet decision, which are non-key. And the first item we'll be looking at is the people strategy. And I will hand over to Councillor Mason, please.
Thank you, Leader. The people strategy hopes to inspire our existing and future staff members. It sets out where we are now, where we want to be, and how we plan to get there on 6 different themes. Being recruitment, which focuses on attracting the right people, development on training and developing skills to create high-performing employees, engagement, which is how we interact with our workforce, strengthening employee engagement and inspiring our staff members, diversity, which is recognising the benefits and strengths that having a diverse workforce brings. Reward and recognition sets out how we will attract and motivate our staff, and well-being, focusing on a safe and healthy working environment for our most valuable asset, our employees. It forms part of a golden thread from the corporate plan through to service and team plans and individual objectives, and incorporates the council's values and behaviours. It is designed to evolve with the needs of the council and, of course, our employees. The last few years have been extremely challenging for our residents and businesses, and also for Team SK. Most of whom have had to work harder to adapt and keep services going throughout an unprecedented global pandemic. The impact this had on staff wellbeing cannot be understated, which is why we prioritise the mental health and wellbeing of every staff member. South Kesteven District Council commits itself to the development of and support for both existing and future staff members. Each member of Team SK makes an invaluable contribution to the district and its residents, and with this strategy, we can help all our staff understand the value of their efforts and how to access the support they need to maximise their potential. So I'm asking the Cabinet to approve the People Strategy 2022 to 2025 as recommended by the Employment Committee. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Mason, for that introduction and speech. And actually, you know, it's incredibly positive that we have got the People Strategy here today, actually only following from the review of the peer review that we had yesterday. And actually they were identifying the work that we'd already undertaken in terms of the work around the people panel, about engaging with our staff. And, you know, I think one of the points and observations I made yesterday was it is an incredibly challenging market out there for retaining and also getting hold of good staff. And actually, whatever we can do to make the offer that we provide here at South Kesteven as attractive as possible is absolutely the best thing we can do. So, you know, like the previous agenda item, by making the workspace that encourages collaboration and makes them feel valued, we'll also support that. You know, for us, it's about selling the benefits of working in local government. We talked yesterday about the culture and values of the organisation. So we want to create this as a place where people can, you know, have their career, succeed and go on to do whatever else they want to do. So by having a people strategy embedded in the organisation, and one that recognises what our values are and what we want to achieve, actually is incredibly positive, because hopefully it will help us retain those staff that we desperately need. And we know the shortages in the marketplace at the minute. So no, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Whittington.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I absolutely welcome this strategy as well. I think Councillor Mason hit the nail right on the head when she said that our staff are our most valuable asset. You know, and a happy, well supported staff will only help with the delivery of all the objectives of the council. So fully welcome it. I think it's a positive move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other comments that anybody would like to make on this report? No. And obviously Councillor Mason will propose, and any seconder, and Mark Whittington to second on that one. So all those in favour, please to indicate. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to items for information, which is 10 on the key and non-key decisions taken under the delegated powers. So obviously the first one at Appendix 1 is the consultation on the draft gambling statement of principles. This is just for noting. The second one is the South Kesteven annual position statement. And then we also have the food and health and safety enforcement work plan. That is just for noting. Therefore, we move on to the Cabinet Forward Plan for the period of the 2nd of September to the 1st of September 2023. Alan, do we have any comments or amendments to this current plan for today?
There is an item relating to, obviously there was an item relating to the Bourne Leisure Centre today that wasn't on the forward plan because it was an urgent item, Bleeder. Other than that, I've got nothing to add.
Do we have any further comments or alterations from Cabinet members on this? No. Then that is just for noting. Therefore, that concludes the business of the Cabinet today. So thank you everybody for coming and taking part. And obviously we'll see everyone in a couple of hours' time for full council. So thank you very much.